What's up, people? Pizowell here for the DVD Fiends, and this week you're going to have to bear with me just a little bit. I'm not feeling too hot. I think I'm coming down with something. I'm going to try and keep this review kind of brief, but it is for a movie that I really enjoyed. I've liked this movie since the first time I saw it. It really surprised me. It came out of left field, and it was not your typical slasher movie, let's just put it that way. And the movie I'm talking about here is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. What this movie wants its viewing audience to believe is that think, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Kreuger. Think all those guys exist. They're for real. They're sort of a fraternity of serial killers, mass murderers, whatever you want to call them, who are legendary at this point. And Leslie Vernon is wanting to stake his own claim to that kind of infamy, that kind of immortality, that kind of legend. Leslie Vernon, he has his own backstory that's sort of Michael Myers-ish, Jason Voorhees-ish, and he wants his revenge on a little town called Glen Echo, and have it be placed under the same sort of cloud of terror that as places like Haddonfield and Crystal Lake and Springwood, so on and so forth. What this movie does is it thrusts us into a almost mock doc kind of scenario where this group of graduate students, they're wanting to make a documentary about Leslie Vernon, about the legend of Leslie Vernon, about it's a little vague. Anyway, they hook up with Leslie Vernon, and he's taking them on the complete he's letting them behind the curtain into how a killer of his stature, a masked killer, Freddy, Jason, Michael, so on and so forth, how you select your survivor girl, the steps you take to torment the survivor girl, to pick out the list of victims that you have to dispatch along the way, rigging the house, rigging the surrounding area with the typical slasher-esque booby traps and bodies and stuff like that. There is the character they call Ahab, which is the sort of Donald Loomis character from Halloween, this time in the guise, well, not the guise, but in the form of Robert Englund's character in this film. That sounds kind of odd. I mean, it's all leading up to this big, to the big kill scene, the big, like every slasher movie, it starts off slow and it slowly builds, and she's being stalked by, the killer, and this person's being picked off, and that person's being picked off, and she's sort of learning more and more about the killer as the movie progresses. All that's there, all that's handled with such wit, with such what's the word I'm looking for? Reverence toward the genre and toward those slasher films. I mean, there's a lot of in-joke stuff going on in the background, a lot of homages to Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween. You can tell that Scott Glosserman, who co-wrote, produced, and directed the movie, is a big fan of the genre. That definitely comes out in the movie, and that is much appreciated. Nathan Basil plays Leslie Vernon, and this is his first film role, and he is absolutely phenomenal in that role. The thing about the movie is leading up to this big massacre scene out in the woods. You like Leslie Vernon. You're kind of, in an odd way, you're rooting for Leslie Vernon to kill off all these kids, and that is sort of you don't know how you feel about that, and I mean that leads to the documentary crew having their own feelings about it, and they're torn and they're conflicted, and that leads into a whole other thing. And this is just a great movie. This is a really, really great movie. It got a lot of positive reviews when it was first released, and then it just kind of went away. Movies like Laid to Rest came along. Movies like Hatchet, which in my opinion are far, far inferior. This movie is a far, far superior movie to either of those. Those two movies came along, and kind of, everybody sort of talks about those movies. And Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon kind of got pushed to the backdrop. But this is just an absolutely fantastic movie. I highly, highly recommend it. It's a different take on the slasher film. It's kind of like, imagine Michael Myers had a documentary crew along with him while the first Halloween was happening. How all those scenes where Laurie sees Michael, but then when she looks again, he's gone. They tackle all that here. How he sort of booby traps the house, with the bodies here and there, and the scene where he comes out with the sheet on, and he's with PJ Soul's character, just sort of having fun before the big wet scene. It's just so much fun. Just think of that, and that's kind of what you've got here with Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. It's incredibly well done. It's, like I said, very well written. The acting is top notch. There's lots of homages to classic horror films. You can tell that Scott Glosserman and his co-writer David J. Steve are huge fans of the genre. It comes through in this film. I cannot recommend it enough. Freddy, Jason, Michael, we all need someone to look up to, and that's who Leslie Vernon looks up to. Those are his heroes, and he wants to carve his own niche in the horror canon, the slasher canon that Jason, Michael, and Freddy are the sort of the Mount Rushmore of. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop yammering and just recommend that you guys go pick this up. Buy it, definitely. I think I got this on Blu-ray for about $10. I'm sure you can get it on DVD for much cheaper. Rent it from Netflix. It might be available to instant view on Netflix. It's definitely worth it. So, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, highly, highly recommend it. And yeah, you guys take it easy. And until next time,